This footage marks the beginning of one of the most extraordinary last stands in modern American military history. The story of Technical Sergeant John Chapman, a U.S. Air Force combat controller whose actions on March 4, 2002, became a symbol of raw bravery, sacrifice, and the willingness to fight even when abandoned, surrounded, and severely wounded. By early 2002, Afghanistan was in chaos. After the 9/11 attacks, U.S. forces began clearing Taliban and al-Qaeda fighters from their mountain hideouts. Many of the enemy had retreated into the Shah-e-Khat Valley, a region covered in steep cliffs, hidden caves, and icy ridge lines. Intelligence showed hundreds of well-armed fighters dug in across the valley. Operation Anaconda was launched to crush them. The success of the entire operation depended on controlling the high ground, and one peak mattered more than any other: Takur Ghar, a mountain over 10,000 feet high with perfect visibility over the valley. If U.S. forces could capture it, they could spot enemy movement and call in strikes. If the enemy held it, American troops on the valley floor would be vulnerable to ambush. A special operations element, including SEAL Team 6 and Air Force Combat Controller John Chapman, was assigned the critical mission of inserting onto that peak before dawn. The team boarded an MH-47 Chinook in total darkness. Their goal: land quickly, quietly, unnoticed. But unknown to them, al-Qaeda fighters were already watching the landing zone from fortified bunkers. As the helicopter hovered over the ridge, machine gun fire erupted from the bunkers, ripping into the Chinook. Bullets smashed into the engines and rotor blades. The helicopter suddenly lurched sideways, the inside filled with warning alarm, smoke, and shouting. Then disaster struck. SEAL Neil Roberts lost his footing as the aircraft pulled away and fell off the ramp, dropping onto the snowy ridge alone. The helicopter was too damaged to stay and had to retreat. The team was horrified. Roberts had fallen directly into an enemy stronghold. The moment they reached safety, the decision was made. They were going back for him. John Chapman was one of the first to volunteer. A second helicopter brought the team to a lower landing zone, about 1,500 to 2,000 feet below the summit. They immediately came under fire as they stepped into the snow. The climb upward was steep, brutally cold, and exposed. Every step they took left them vulnerable. As they neared the top, they engaged an enemy bunker head-on. John Chapman didn't wait for orders. He charged forward through deep snow and cleared the bunker himself, killing the fighters inside. His assault opened the path for the SEALs and prevented them from being pinned down. But as Chapman stepped forward from the first bunker, gunfire erupted from a second hidden position. He was struck multiple times and fell into the snow. To the SEALs, it looked like he had been killed instantly. Under heavy fire and with several team members wounded, they made the impossible choice to retreat. They didn't abandon him out of neglect. They genuinely believed he was gone, but he wasn't. After the SEALs withdrew from the mountaintop, the thermal camera shows John Chapman lying motionless in the snow. For several long minutes, he doesn't move at all. From the view of the Predator drone above, he looks completely lifeless, a bright figure against the black and white terrain. This is the moment the SEAL team believed he had been killed. The firefight had been intense, chaotic, and overwhelming, and Chapman had been hit directly by machine gun fire. In the confusion and the blinding snow, it truly looked like he had fallen instantly. But the video would later reveal something almost unbelievable. Chapman was not dead. Slowly, the bright shade begins to shift. Chapman regains consciousness despite severe wounds and freezing temperatures. He pushes himself up, dragging his body through the snow. He is alone, bleeding, disoriented, and surrounded by enemy positions on higher ground. Yet instead of crawling downhill to escape, he does the opposite. He begins to crawl toward the enemy bunker that shot him. This decision shows exactly who he was, a man who refused to abandon the mission even when abandoned himself. He knew that if he didn't stop the fighters on the ridge, the entire mountain would fall back into al-Qaeda's control. In the video, you can see him engaging two fighters who approach his position. They move across the ridge, closing in, but Chapman fights them off by himself. He shifts firing positions, crawling between patches of snow and small rocks to gain better angles. Each muzzle flash from his rifle shows up on the thermal screen as a bright sudden spark. Even though he is heavily wounded and likely in immense pain, he moves with purpose. He wasn't fighting to survive. He was fighting to delay the enemy and protect anyone else who might come to the mountain. As the fight continues, more enemy fighters gather on the ridgeline. Chapman single-handedly holds them back, but the most important part of his last stand happens next. Down in the valley, a quick reaction force of U.S. Army Rangers is approaching in another MH-47 helicopter. The enemy on the summit knows this, and they begin preparing an ambush. Two fighters move into position with an RPG aimed at the exact landing zone the Rangers are flying toward. If the helicopter is hit, dozens of Americans could die instantly. Chapman spots these fighters moving into position. Despite his injuries, he crawls forward again, exposing himself to enemy fire. He fires at the RPG team, disrupting the ambush and forcing them to scatter. This moment, captured directly in the drone footage, is the reason the Ranger helicopter survives the approach. The aircraft still takes heavy fire and crash lands on the slope, but it isn't destroyed in the air. Chapman's actions save the lives of the Rangers inside. Even after this, Chapman continues to fight. He refuses to stop moving, refuses to stop firing, and refuses to give up the high ground. For over an hour, he fights completely alone in brutal conditions. His body temperature is dropping, his blood loss is severe, and he is vastly outnumbered. Yet he holds the summit long enough for the Rangers to land and begin their own desperate fight for survival. Eventually, 2 Al-Qaeda fighters manage to flank him from above. A blind angle he could not defend while lying in the snow, they descend on his position and open fire. In the thermal footage, you can see Chapman turning toward them, trying to lift his weapon one final time. He attempts to return fire even in the final seconds of his life. It is the last recorded movement he ever makes. John Chapman dies facing the enemy, still fighting, still protecting others, still fulfilling the mission he refused to abandon. His final stand on Takur Ghar is now considered one of the most heroic actions in modern U.S. military history. A lone airman, wounded and isolated, holding a mountaintop against overwhelming odds for over an hour. His courage saved the lives of multiple American teams and changed the outcome of the battle.